All right, everybody. We have another NLX2 podcast coming at you guys. Been very excited about this one. Been getting this one set up, and I'm glad it finally came through. And today we have Mark Littell, somebody who wears many hats. Today he's wearing a St. Louis hat, but he wears many hats. So, entrepreneur, former professional baseball player for both Kansas City and St. Louis, and then also an author, entrepreneur, everything. He's done it all, and he's had success in what you've done. And selfishly, maybe that's why I gravitated towards you a lot. You've done very well in different sectors, and so played a stint with both KC and St. Louis. Like I said, is the inventor of a very great product that is simple in means, but I was thinking about it. You've allowed many children to actually be born. It's kind of a cool thing roundabout. So, if you just want to introduce yourself real quick, man, we can take it away. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, I be Mark Littell, and Nutty Buddy is one, and this was my first book, and it was on the 8th day God made baseball. I have a second one called Country Boy Conveniently Wild. And then a third one is getting ready to come out called What's Up Ramrod with a question mark. Oh. And that's a little bit on coaching. And it's not a how-to book. None of my books are how-to. They're a lot of fun to read. And I like to have fun. So,
oh, yeah. Well, just doing research on you and seeing different podcasts and all that, you're a witty person. So
sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. So just for people that don't know you, I have a baseball background. A lot of people that are on this podcast are entrepreneurs, and they are strength and conditioning coaches all around the world. So a big thing, how was the childhood? Where did you grow up? What brought you all the way into professional baseball?
I grew up in a small town in Missouri in the Boot Heel that hangs down into Arkansas. And it's right on the Mississippi River. It's Gideon, Missouri, and it's 1,000 people roughly. It's south of Cape Girardeau, lush Rush Limbaugh territory, okay, you might say, Cape Girardeau, Missouri. And soybean, cotton farm, and my dad was shot all to hell in the Korean War, and he kept my brother and I in line. And my brother caught me. He's a year behind me. He played at Mississippi State. He got drafted twice as a catcher, and anytime an umpire got out of line, we kept them straight.
There you go. That's what you got to do.
Yeah.
So during that time, I grew up in a town in Wyoming of right around 4,000, but where we actually lived is a much smaller town. We have towns with 100 people right around us. And I always talk about this to my athletes, and I talk to many people, and we'll get into your nickname and all this stuff, and it's all carried with you throughout everything that you've done. Did you feel like coming from a small town, did you have to have a chip on your shoulder, or did that perspective kind of help you throughout your career?
Well, I think in a sense there was a chip built on my shoulder because I was when I signed in '71, George Brett, another ball player, Hall of Famer, he and I signed the same year. We were both 18 years old. He was a beach boy. I was a farm boy. So I pretty much parked my plow points at the door in Billings, Montana, and he parked his surfboard on the other side, and we both went through the door. And we wondered about each other. He's kind of strange. And so we got to be pretty good friends and ended up playing a lot of baseball together when I was with Kansas City. And then I was also with, obviously, St. Louis. Yeah. But there's a lot of fun things out there to do. And the California guys, I was the only guy from the Midwest right there, so I had the down-home country boy accent. And we're actually in the South. We're right north of Memphis, Tennessee, not very far. So they always had fun times with me. I ended up being the winningest pitcher on that team, and we only had 3 high school players on the whole team, and the rest were all college boys out of USC, UCLA, and wow, University of Smithfield Children, I told them.
Wow. And that kind of brings us to your time in Billings. I grew up, that Billings is where we went school shopping. Billings is where we had everything. And so I'm very familiar with Billings. And I mean, just a few years ago, their Little League World Series team was in the championship, and it was really cool to see. And so, how was your time in Billings? How was that, and the opportunity? Obviously, it catapulted you very well. So how'd that go?
I had a blast. I had a blast in Billings, and in rookie ball you have a 72 game schedule. Well, at least back then you did. And we played Montana. We played in Utah a little bit, and then Idaho Falls and that area as well.
Okay.
That was part of it. It was an 8-team league at the time, and you got to see a part of the country that was actually beautiful.
Yeah.
And the fans were great. They pulled in quite well with the fans.
Yeah, I bet.
The fans were very good there.
So during the entire time, so we're growing up all the way through. Obviously, when you're in minor league ball is your one. You have a very tunnel vision on that. There's one end goal. Were you a multiple sport athlete growing up?
Yes.
Okay. What else did you play?
Basketball and baseball, and then football and the cotton trailers and things of that nature.
Was it always baseball? Were you always superior at baseball?
Basketball a little bit too, but baseball, yes, for sure, because my arm stood out, and I played Legion baseball, and Legion was a big deal because we had 60-game schedule.
Oh,
and
really?
Legion's a very big part up in the Northwest as well. Billings, they have big Legion teams, Helena, Montana. I ended up coaching 18 years professionally.
Okay.
So I coached Milwaukee, San Diego, Dodgers, Kansas City. They're all the same. There's just different twists. It's like, playing for a different team. There's just a little bit different twist.
Yep.
And, the fact that I was born in the state and played for both Kansas City and St. Louis, I'm the only player that's ever played in the state and born in the state that's never played for another team.
Oh, really? That is very interesting. It's pretty cool. I'm a big football fan too, and you look at a lot of the people that have come home and got to play professional ball in their home state, and it's awesome. It's really cool to see.
Yes.
So when I played baseball was actually my best sport. My dad had played, like we talked about earlier, my dad played professionally in Australia. And so having him as my coach, it was the end goal. That was what I wanted to do. Being from how small our town was, we actually didn't have the numbers, so they had to cut the Legion ball team. So that was, they cut the ball team by the time, so I played 1 year of Legion and it was cut. And so from that point, it was like, we gotta figure out something else. Cause baseball was that goal.
Sure.
So so in Billings, you had some success. Obviously, that's what helped get you to where you were. And then I like to see that contrast to tell people, like, yeah, you played professionally for X amount of years, but you coached for much longer. You've been around it a lot. So in my realm, football is like this big, everybody wants to train and compete in football. So I like to bring this out to people because all these head honcho, muscle-bound football players think that just baseball, you can be a slob doing it or X, whatever it is. And I tell them, I said, there are plenty of baseball players that can make the transition to any other professional sport and be great. There are minimal amount of people that can transfer from another sport into baseball. Why do you think that is? It's what does baseball require of somebody that another sport doesn't?
Well, you have to have kinesthetic awareness, fine-tune, fine touch in baseball. And basketball is the same way.
Yeah.
It's all fine-tune, fine touch. In football, it's kind of like, it's Thor versus whoever, which of their gods on the other side, and whoever is the strongest are run through. Your quarterback, your tight ends are relevant. They got brains. Everybody else, whatever. So anyway, they lift a lot of iron. If we lift too much iron, we lose all of this.
Yep.
So I do like yoga. I like stretching quite a bit. I didn't grow up on weights. I grew up on a farm. We didn't use the weights back then when I had it. They use a lot more weights now. There's a lot of people that misuse weights. They're kind of like a gun. They can go off and they're loaded. So they're dangerous.
Yep.
And you got to know what you're doing with them. I do like light weights quite a bit. especially for the pitchers. I like stretching. If you see a pitcher get too tight and they're not flexible, it's really hard to throw a baseball with when you're tight and when
Yeah.
you're wound up.
Yep.
I mean, everybody says, well, you have to go out there and really and go get them now. Well, in baseball, you want the attitude of, if I want to throw a really good fastball, I have to actually relax more.
Yeah.
I don't have to like that, because then everything tightens up. Whereas, if I wanted to throw, 95 here, easy, it just comes out of your hand. But if you want to try too much, you're going to go backwards. And then the term we've heard, less is more, actually it does work. The other factor is, it's better to be smarter than to come out here and think, well, I did all this, coach. They could care less. Did you actually get the job done, though?
Yeah. And that's
they care how. I don't care how hard you work. I don't care what you did. If you didn't get the job done, there's a reason.
Yeah.
Back it down sometimes.
Exactly. That's what I run into in football. There's these weight room warriors that can't make a tackle or whatever it is, and you run into that. And you made a good point. You doing your best work has to be unconscious. You have to just be able to do it. And I made a list because I'm a strength and conditioning coach buff, and I've been around some of the best strength and conditioning coaches in baseball. I'm really good friends with the Diamondback strength and conditioning staff, and a big thing they've turned to is arm care. Really trying to be able to offset or prevent any type of arm care issues. And one of their biggest goals, get limber. Be able to, one, produce force. You need to be able to produce the force to get the job done, but you need to be able to decelerate. So that second step in that pitcher, they need to be able to decelerate, and then that gets us into a whole slew of things. You have to have this optimal limb ratio. You have to have very rigid but very flexible torso, and you have to be able to have the healthy enough joints to get there. This is a great segue too. You ended up, and we'll kind of jump around. We'll get back into Billings and all that, but you ended up having to get surgery. It took you out a season, correct?
Twice.
Oh, twice. Same surgery?
I bounced back from both surgeries. I was a rehab coach for 2 years, but I found out with a lot of things, and I know you're probably aware of it. But I see guys doing these forward things with the bands quite a bit, and all kinds of things. Actually, when you work the decelerators, it's a lot better. If I were doing a lot of things over, I would work the decelerators way more than going the other.
100%. You're spot on. That's what almost all strength and conditioning in baseball is going to. How well can you decelerate your weight? Because everybody, if you're at that level, you should be able to throw you should be able to throw fast pitches. You should be able to get there, but can you decelerate it safely so you don't get hurt? Is the big thing.
Because the other thing too is if your front side accelerators are overdeveloped, you're here, you need bigger back muscles. If you look at the best pitchers that longevity wise, if you look at their back muscles, that's the guys that really stay in the game a while.
Yep.
That holds their arm in place.
Yep.
Once they release.
And you even look at different sports too. I used to deal with, I had 3 shoulder surgeries and a knee surgery playing college football, and the people that can have the strong back to hold the shoulders in place with arm tackles, it's the key. It really is. But in baseball, it's on a pedestal, especially when pitching. That's your moneymaker, as you know. And so throwing fastballs, I really like. I know that you probably always have to talk about certain stories on podcasts and all this, and so I tried to find one that you don't have to talk about as much. But I love the story about BP when you just couldn't take the sauce off the fastball. Tell us about that story. You had never done BP before.
Well, that actually did happen in Billings, and I'd never thrown batting practice before because I came from a really small town, and I just threw on the side, threw in the game. But my brother caught me. It was the same thing in Legion baseball. I never really threw batting practice whatsoever. So the very first time I threw, I was going to throw on the second day because we had a lot of pitchers out there, and we had a lot of administrators that came in from Kansas City, and a lot of coaches as well. And the guy who signed me was Gary Blaylock, and he was there. He was actually the manager of the team. And so when I got out there to throw, I just said, I'm balls out, screw you. So I was out there letting it go. These college guys, and they're basically saying, who the hell is this guy? Balls are flying all over the place. And, Blaylock came out and he said, damn it. He said, damn it, Mark. He said, back this shit down. He said, back it down. And I said, well, okay. Of course I didn't know. I thought I was supposed to get him out. But, and then later on, the next day, my nickname Country would come about by a Hall of Fame guy named Joe Flash Gordon after he saw this incident. Mm-hmm. It just happened. Well, anyway, this guy goes down to first base, and I noticed they were going to get leads. And he said, come to a set position, throw out of a set. I said, oh, okay. So I came to a set position. I said, well, if this son of a bitch gets a pretty good lead, I'm going to pick his ass off.
Yep.
Well, there's a guy over at first base from UCLA, Dave Landers, and Spider Jorgensen, another Hall of Fame guy, was hitting to our shortstop, and he was taking throws. Well, I come to a set position, and I'm looking, and I look over my shoulder and said, gee, he's got a hell of a lead. Mm-hmm. So I just turned and just did my best move. So as Landers is getting the throw from the shortstop, one goes by his head. So everybody on the field just falls down and just laughing their ass off.
God.
I mean, everybody, all the coaches except Blaylock, manager, he's shaking his head. He said, damn it, and, Landers just walked over to the dugout because he probably shit his pants to get a drink of water, and he just threw his glove down. And so that's what you were talking about.
Yeah.
But the next day, Joe Gordon said, I came out of the dugout, and there's probably 8 or 10 people on the field because I like to get out there a little bit early. And he said, where is that country boy? I kind of like him. Where is he?
Oh, that's that chip that you got from that small town. I mean, honestly, I would never take back growing up in that small of a town. Throwing bales, docking sheep, branding cattle, like that's the good shit, man. That's what makes great people, I think.
Good work.
Yeah, 100%. Hard work is just another day, I would say, And so I didn't know if this was true, but once you made yourself very well known and very successful as a closer, and you had a song play every time, correct? You had a song come out too. What was that?
It was Thank God I'm a Country Boy, John Denver.
Let's go. That's a classic, man.
When Kansas City was winning and I was coming to the mound, and I was pretty young, after going through my first arm surgery, I was still young, and they were getting with it, and they would, when I was getting ready to throw the first pitch, then they would sit down and the music would stop, and there you go. So
cool, man. So at this time in Billings, did you know at this time that you were in the minor league system, you were going to go professional, you were going to go to the majors?
I had always thought that, but I didn't know. Mm-hmm. And, I was a 12th round pick. George Brett was a 2nd round pick. He wasn't the first. George Brett's a Hall of Famer right now.
Yeah.
So, but, I just never really gave up on myself. The thing that got me into the big leagues is a visualization really helped me with Dr. Bill Harrison. And that's why I went, because I was 9-1 in AAA, and I was not supposed to go to AAA. I didn't even go to big league camp. So I applied myself when Dr. Harrison came in, and he was probably one of the first, if not the very first guy to coin the term visualization. And he died about 6 months ago, and he has a book out, several books called "Slow the Game Down."
Okay.
But worked with a lot of people.
I was very interested in that, actually. I'll buy that book. I'll be reading it. But because nowadays history always repeats itself, and we're always getting back to now training the decelerators, what we used to do, and now trying to slow the game down instead of trying to speed it up. So what were some of the visualization stuff that you did with Dr. Harrison?
Well, actually, the power of suggestion, which is actually self-hypnosis in a sense,
Mm-hmm.
is part of it. But the other factor is trying to calm your body. And once you're trying to do certain little bitty things between the line, you actually focus because you're actually working on things with internally.
Yeah.
So you're not working on, looking at over here, over here, over here. You're actually focusing, and you're very positive about, my job was to get outs, not to throw strikes. My job is to get outs.
Mm-hmm.
I can throw a strike, but it can get hammered.
Mm-hmm.
So, but
that's interesting.
In mine, I want to get it out. Matter of fact, I would tell my pitchers sometimes. I'd say, "Hey, mix in a strike," and as I would turn, I would knowingly say, "Oh, well, it might be better to mix in and out. See you later."
Exactly. I was very interested in that because in my field, when you're cueing or giving coaching to an athlete, right, there's a lot of really good sound research to show that internal cueing, so they can be very cognizant of what's going on in their body and what to feel, is actually much more effective than, hey, dig your big toe or pull your feet apart or whatever it is. And so it's a sound research, which obviously Dr. Harrison had got that early on, which is awesome.
It was an interesting thing because I was the very first person. I mean, I was the youngest guy in the big league at age 20, and I didn't go to big league camp, and I was all of a sudden I'm in AAA at 9-1, and they're really kind of wanting me to fail. I mean, I hate to say that, but I started working out with AA for one day. And the only reason I got over there is because Lou Gorman and John Sherholtz, who was the Atlanta's general manager, he's our assistant at the time. He's real so young.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Hey, Mark, you're always in shape." And I said, yeah. He said, "You think you could throw 3 innings tomorrow?" Just like that, 3 innings in AAA in spring training, because they had not come down from the big leagues yet. And I said, camp. And I said, "Sure." Well, I did fine. I ended up throwing 27 innings with zeros across the board.
Damn.
Which is 27 innings in the big leagues is in spring training is stupid.
Yeah.
You might get 15 to 16, but anyway, they were trying to see. So I opened up in Denver in AAA, and that's a mile-high stadium at the time, and it's a pure launch pad. I did allow a home run, but that was the only thing I gave up in 7 innings.
Wow.
I got it in there, and they want you to, it's high air.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So we're transitioning from minors to majors. I have one question for you. So I have a bunch of athletes that, not per se in the baseball world, because they're going to just go to college. I wouldn't say they're as talented as a pool that you were in, but they're going to college. But a lot of my football players and hockey players, one bit of advice. So I have a ton of them going Division I, Division II, mainly Division I. What is very generally, what is your advice for them? You'd said earlier, don't give up on yourself, but what is some advice for them that you're going to go from a very small pond to a very big pond with a lot bigger fish? What is your advice for them going bigger?
Well, be prepared not to play your first year.
Yeah.
They might not know that, but it's okay to go to a JUCO college, by the way.
Yes.
Because there's some really good JUCO colleges. It's a lot less expensive, and then good Division I schools like to take players out of junior colleges more so than high school.
Yeah, they're more developed.
They're way more developed, and you be prepared to set. You think you're going to go in there, or better yet, well, the coach said he would promise me this. That's a bunch of BS.
Yeah.
There's no coach that's going to promise you that. He will promise you that, but it ain't going to happen.
No.
If it does happen, okay. You're one of the very few.
Mm-hmm. It's a numbers game, and you know that more than I. I played Division II football, and it was still a numbers game. If you weren't the best player on that day, kiss your ass onto the bench. That's just how it goes. It's a number game.
You hate to tell the parents this, that you just wasted $8,000, sending your little son all over to Division I school because he got 30% or whatever he got. The minimum is 25, I believe. And then all of a sudden, he doesn't make his grades, and so now he's got to go back to JUCO.
Waste of time and money.
The grades are the biggest thing too, because if you're sitting there thinking about going there because I'm I'm a football or a baseball player or whatever the hell you are, you're in the wrong business.
Yeah.
You better be going there for your education first, because being a pro football player, being a pro baseball player is so far remote.
Yep.
It really is.
It's
Look at the number.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but it's like a 0.01% of people that actually are going to make a living off of doing professional sports. It's
not very many.
It's astronomical. So we have now got from billing. You're going into the majors. What was the absolute biggest? And I have an idea, but what was the biggest transition from minor league to major league after you were drafted?
It's the whole mental approach.
Yeah.
And mature. The word you're looking for probably is maturity.
Yeah.
Is because you can sit there and you can be the physical guy. Well, I've got as good a fastball as him. I've got as good a breaking ball as him. My changeup might not be as good, but you know what? You're not as calm as him. It doesn't project. You can throw all that body language you want out there, but it's just not projecting the way it should be.
Yeah.
At that time when you walk onto a Major League Baseball field, you know it when you're ready.
Mm-hmm.
Because I went down and I found out that I was a 4A player. I was not a AAA player. I was not a big league player. I was in between.
Mm-hmm.
So what's going to get me over the hump? And, you don't have to throw as hard. You don't have to have the greatest breaking ball. You don't have to have this or that. You have to be mature about what you're doing and then you can actually enjoy the game.
Yep.
Because there's a lot of, you work too hard at the game sometimes. You can work way too hard at the game of baseball. And there's a lot of times you're not ready to win. That's a big term.
Really?
Is this person actually ready to win? Can he step into that arena calmly, coolly, and collected and go about his business? And he's maybe in a lot of pain or he may be injured, but he's still going to beat you.
Yeah.
Because he knows another way to do it.
Mm-hmm. I grew up, I was actually probably a better wrestler than I was a football player, but I ended up playing college football. Wrestling and baseball have a lot of parallels. You're on the mound, you do have a team behind you, but it's very mental within your head being able to get the task done, known or novel. It doesn't matter. So that's interesting because I like drawing parallels from wrestling because they're both very, very difficult mental sports.
Yeah. I hear you.
So we got drafted in 71 and walk us through a little bit of your professional career. What were some great memories there in progressing from KC to St. Louis?
Well, the progression is, you're getting traded and somebody still likes you.
Yeah, there you go.
So,
building those relationships.
Somebody wants you.
Mm-hmm.
But, I was in a couple playoffs, with Kansas City, and I was young at the time, 23, and I gave up a big home run to Chambliss, as a lot of people know, but they still play that after 44 years. They still play that on the Yes channel in New York every day. The Cardinal thing, that was great. I hold a Cardinal record for relievers for strikeouts. I just laugh at that.
Let's go.
Because I didn't know. It's a single season record, and the way pitchers are being pitched right now, I guess it'll never be broken, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But it was funny because ESPN called me up about 6 years ago and said, Mr. Littell, that's when you know you get an intern. Mr. Littell. And I said, what do you want? And so he said, well, your record might fall. I said, what record? He said, well, you hold the single season record for most strikeouts by a reliever. I said, no shit. and so he said, well, who's set to break it? And he said, Rosenthal. I said, well, good luck to him. Mm-hmm. And he missed it by 3. Tough stuff.
There you go. Still holds strong.
Yep.
What was I'm very interested. What was the best team you think that you played on?
I tell you what, both those teams. I was very fortunate at the time because the Royals. We were so close to going to the World Series, and they will tell you they still bring that '76 team up that a lot. And then, of course, the '82 World Series team that I was with. I didn't play in that series because I was hurt, but that was another good team. Both they were both good, and they both treated me very well.
Yeah.
So I was very fortunate at the time.
Great.
Very fortunate to have been there, to have played for both those teams.
Seriously, and have the talent you had behind you too. Very great. Getting into a little bit of strength and conditioning, and I'm very interested. I'm really interested. We kind of touched on it a little bit, but what did strength and conditioning look like when you were playing professional ball? How has it changed, or does it look the same, or how did that look?
No, it's changed quite a bit, actually. I think they tried to get into the weight program a few years ago, and they started making everybody look like Popeye,
Mm-hmm.
including pitchers. And you don't want pitchers that look like Popeye.
Yeah.
And but if you look at it, you talk about a small town environment. I use the word tensile strength, and tensile strength to me fills in the gaps. And when your dad says to go put plow points on or do this or this with your fingers and your hands, that's fine. But if you go out and you work with, say, somebody and they say, "Oh, I went to the gym for an hour and a half. Oh, I'm so tired. Let's go have a latte right now."
Mm-hmm.
So, and they, I got my hand strength down. But you see, we were doing this the whole time, and we had to do it because that's the way it was.
Yeah.
For 6 or 7 hours. So now, you've got the Xbox that came into it. You look at Price that came from Boston. He's sitting over there. He had to have carpal tunnel because he was playing too much Xbox. So go tell me. Don't tell me, that people are onto this. So,
Mm-hmm.
Strength and conditioning guys got to remind them, if you do this too much, this is going to take a hit maybe. Well, it did. And it took a hit on one of the best pitchers in baseball.
Yeah.
And that was not by a weight either. And I can't tell you how many times in spring training as a coach that once they started the weight programs, that the guys would always want to do more, and somebody of those 75 pitchers would come in and because of a dropped weight, and now you've got a labrum tear or whatever, a slight tear, and the guy says, "Well, my arm's sore." "Why is your arm sore?" "Because they've been checking on them all over the world where they're at."
Yeah.
"Well, have you been doing this and this and that?" "Yeah, well, but I didn't tell you. I let a weight slip."
Yeah.
Things of that nature.
Yeah. I really like the term that you brought up, tensile strength. So I'm a part of a very exclusive group. There's only 130 of us coaches in the entire world. It's called they actually just ran an article in the Dickinson Press a few weeks ago. And so long story short, John Wellborn, he played 10 years in the NFL, offensive lineman. And he said, what was the difference between some successful guys and some older guys that weren't as successful? And he said, tensile strength. And he said, because it's like a samurai sword. The more folds we can get on this sword, the better it's going to make it as a weapon. And so
Sure.
He talked about that as like, it's a multifaceted thing, but this tensile strength is something that we may not be able to put a qualitative mark on, but when
Right.
people have it, and the people that don't. And so I really like that you brought that up.
It's a layer,
Yeah.
and I brought that up on my own at times years ago about tensile strength. Yeah, I relate to it as a filler in between the joints. Rather than looseness, it's kind of welded together.
Yeah.
Like it should be.
Exactly. Smooth.
It's welded.
Yeah, it's very smooth. Do you think you had had 2 surgeries? Do you think that those were inevitable? That you had any work you could have done would have stopped that?
Well, I probably was overpitched, I'm sure, because I got in 60 plus games at over 100 innings 3 times. That's only happened with 40 of us in the business. That's a lot of innings for a reliever with as many times up.
Yeah.
That doesn't count the dry humps. That means the times you get up and don't get into the game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then, I think I would have had. I think every pitcher goes through a clean out. Ryan did, Maddox did. They all had clean outs. Major surgery. I had a major surgery, my last one, because it was a total rehab of the elbow. It wasn't Tommy John. I know Tommy John. We played against him. But I just, yeah, it was going to happen regardless. The other factor is, though, is I probably did some of the wrong things with my body as far as my arm.
Mm-hmm.
And people ask me, they say, well, hey, you were a really good pitcher. And you know what? Well, here's the deal. I have short legs. I have a long torso. I have short arms. I have a fat head. I have 5 wisdom teeth. And I have a 5th lumbar vertebra in my body. So I have an extra lumbar vertebra, and I'm really smart because I have a 5th wisdom tooth.
Yeah.
So, anyway, this part's long, this part's short, and so a lot of people don't weigh that into that scale.
Definitely.
And I think if you measure that, if you look at a guy's torso or most people have those nice long legs, that you want in the athlete.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that hinders you when you have a short torso and longer legs.
And
those are a lot of things to think about.
Yeah, and I think in pitching, it's put on a pedestal. It's more important in that than it is in most things.
Yes, it is.
And
right.
back then, you made a good point. There wasn't no control of pitches thrown or your pitch count or inning count. It was just get the job done more than likely, correct?
Right.
Yeah. So
the pitchers don't throw very much today. Period. The one thing I learned from Jim Cott, who played 26 years in the big leagues, left-handed pitcher, he was Minnesota for a lot of his time. But I said, what's the secret to your longevity? And he says, well, in a nutshell, he wore a long-sleeve shirt, he shut the air conditioning down, and he threw a little bit every day. Even if he threw 9 innings, he might throw 8 or 9 throws just to see if the arm worked.
Mm-hmm.
And the other factor was, it's your intensity level doesn't have to be balls out all the time.
Yeah.
And if you're going to throw it, where everybody might throw 25 to 30 pitches just to, get her cranking right, the guy that threw the big innings, he might throw 8 and he quit. You don't have to make him throw like the rest. So recognize who those are. The other factor, and I almost forgot this, is people will, work their their dominant arm, work your opposite side more because you want to walk in there level. You don't want to walk in there short and big on one side. You want to be balanced.
Yeah.
You want everything to balance out.
And that plays a bigger role in the shoulder than most people think. Since I had a lot of shoulder injuries, I'm a shoulder specialist, looking at a ton of stuff. That could be a whole separate podcast, but there's published research on, and you brought up a great point, so say you had a knee surgery on your left. Well, what the research shows, there's something called total testosterone or serum testosterone levels. If you just work if you stopped working your injured leg and didn't work the other one, your testosterone levels actually drop as a full cycle flow. So being able to work the opposite side, even when you're not injured, can play a huge role, a massive role. And that's something that people are just finding out, but people always knew that along. We always knew that. It's something that's going to help us in the future and help us with longevity. So
I think people have to understand, it's so important to try to work the opposite side of the brain. It helps you, and it helps you as an athlete to perform because you're doing something that you don't like, and that's adversity, something you don't like to do.
Yep. We all get in ruts. We're humans. We want to do what we're good at.
Right.
So transitioning a little bit, my friend, into your invention, into your business. And I'm very interested in it. I was talking to my cousin about this the other day, just anticipating the podcast. And you have absolutely saved children and allowed children to be born. And that's a need. That's something where this came out of. So I'm very interested of where this came out of. You had a real shitty cup that got broke, or where did this come from?
Yeah, I'm into procreation, you might say. But, BYU was one of the first big buyers of us. They're in a really big procreation.
Yeah, I'm a Utah fan, so.
There you go. So, but anyway, I was coaching with Kansas City at the time, and I was a coordinator, pitching coordinator. And I was talking to the pitchers one day, and I was getting ready to run. And we had some downtime for 3 or 4 minutes. And So I said, how many of you guys wear cups? And about half of them raised their hands. And well, that figures, you guys are probably going to be nutless or something. And so I'm talking, and one of the guys in the back says, hey, Littell, hey, Lit, why don't you just invent one? I said, well, screw you. I think I will. Let's go run. So I ran them, and then I went to the training room, and I was looking for 2 golf balls. I asked the trainers, anybody got any golf balls? No. Well, I got some out over here. So I found some golf balls. I found the plastic, what do you call it, the putting hydroculator. Plastic, or what do they call it? I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, stuff that waves after about 4 minutes. And so I got the big scissors to cut it with, and I welded it around there, and then I came up with this. And so I basically took that out there the next day, and I said, oh, here's your cup, by the way. The guy said, well, that's pretty nice design right there. He said, you might want to get that patented. I said, screw you. I don't think so. So after I left the instructional lady, well, maybe I might want to think about that. So I talked to a lawyer, and patent lawyer, and they sent it off in Washington, D.C., and he called me, and he said 6 weeks later, he said, it came back free and clear. And I said, what's that mean? It says, that means you spend more money. So anyway, that's what I came up with. It's anatomically correct for the most part here. It is anatomically correct. Kids fall asleep with this on. It doesn't matter what sport. Anybody that's got a pair can use this.
Mm-hmm.
But I got 5 sizes. I got hammer, boss, hog, trophy, and of course Mongo. So, that's how they sell.
Yeah.
And then there's a chart that kind of fills you in right there on what you need.
Mm-hmm.
And of course every guy that's a little guy, he comes up to the counter and he says, "Hey baby, I got the hog." And then of course every 8th grader's got Mongo.
Yep.
And then Gal says, "Go back and get the hog." Kids.
Oh man.
Whatever.
I really like that, the simplicity of it, but the pull to fix a problem. So we had a football kid just last week from Trinity, one of their best, Logan Bentz, one of their best players, and he was going to make a tackle. He caught a heel of a cleat, and it was nobody knew what happened, and then he actually missed 2 weeks, black and blue. Let's just say that everything was it was bad, man. So any sport can use it. Just like you said, anybody with a pair can do it. And everybody gets a kick out of just you completely disregarding own health because you believed in your product and taking 90-mile-an-hour fastballs to the nuts.
I was going to let you say that because I've been on a lot of shows.
Oh, yeah.
I was on Times Square. I've been on a lot of shows, taking 90-mile-an-hour shots. And it's actually easy. I actually rode a bull 6 years ago, and he broke my pubic bone, but my nuts were all intact.
Oh yeah.
I found out bull riders wear my cup, and I said, yeah, man, we like your cup. It's real comfortable. And I said, well, good. So I wanted to do a commercial, so I rode a big bull, and he slammed me hard. I did go 2.4 seconds anyway.
There you go.
I'm 67 right now.
Hell yeah.
61.
You find somebody in their 60s riding a damn bull for 2.4. I'm going to call you a liar. There's only one of those.
It's on film. You can look it up, actually.
Let's go.
So I cut the infomercial, and it turned out well. But the guy said, "How you feel?" I feel like shit.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yes,
you can't walk. You kind of shuffle over there. But
yeah,
it's all fun. The cup is fun to do. I've got patented shorts and actually a jock. I like to wear it with a jock, the correct way, versus you put up. They have these things where you used to slide them in. That's very unsafe.
Mm-hmm.
And professionally we wear 2 jocks. So I have a jock that's made pretty nice. Actually, it's very, very, very well put together.
Yeah.
And the shorts are patented, and obviously this is very well patented.
Awesome. Where can people find that?
The other thing is I've won 5 awards on this. I'm an idiot.
There you go. Where can people find this and buy them?
You just go to nuttybuddy.com. We were in the big stores, and the big stores really don't do our product justice. And they even said that. And we've always had success, but we also had to try the big store route as well. It's made in the United States, as well as made in Omaha.
Awesome,
So
man.
right in the smack dab in the middle.
I love that.
It's made of 124R Lexan bullet-resistant glass.
Ooh.
I said resistant.
Yeah, exactly.
Not bulletproof.
Yep. So I usually wrap up podcasts with just 2 questions, and I try to go only 3 to 4 weeks with the same questions. And so you have the first week of new questions. It's not too bad, but it's also really nice to get what's on the top of Mark Littell's head right now. So if Mark Littell was if you were a kitchen utensil, what kitchen utensil would Mark Littell be and why?
Knife, because I'd want to be real sharp at things.
Yes, sir. There you go. True. There you go. I when I got asked that, I was a meat tenderizer because I'm usually all gas, no brakes. So, and then lastly, man, again, I really do appreciate you jumping on. We finally made it able to work. And so if you were able to write your legacy, and what would Mark Littell want to be remembered for?
Actually making sure everybody understood that there's probably a better path than what we sometimes travel, and need to actually evaluate ourselves a little bit better and tell ourselves the truth as an athlete, because it'll save us a lot more time to have that heart-to-heart talk with our own selves, to say what is my weakness and also what is my strength.
Yeah. So there's more than one path, and we're always the head doesn't always tell us the exact right path.
Right.
Yeah. I like that. That's definitely
Be
new.
honest with yourself.
What was that?
Be honest with yourself.
Yeah. Have that.
A lot of people, it's very hard to be honest with yourself. Tell yourself the truth.
Because you can get by for so long lying until something big comes up.
You know, I can get by and be a AAA ball player. If I want to tell myself the truth that I'm short on this, I might go to the big leagues.
That's a great comparison, man. Great.
Yeah.
Mark, I really do appreciate you coming on. It's been a lot of fun. Just anticipating watching all the other podcasts and doing research on you. You're a really good dude. And even though you played professional baseball, you've done all this stuff, you've are an author, you're an entrepreneur, you just seem like a genuine dude. And I like that about you. So I'm glad we'll have to meet up sometime after you're done with your surgery here in Dickinson.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it, and I had a great time today. Wonderful.
I appreciate it, man. That will wrap up another NLX2 podcast with Mark Littell. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you need yourself a Nutty Buddy, which you do, go to nuttybuddy.com, correct?
Yep.
Awesome.
Nuttybuddy.com.
Awesome. So I appreciate it. You have a good one, and we will talk to you all later.